Good evening, everypony, and welcome to Commentary's Magic Stream on today, Sunday, July 31st, 2022. I am, as always, Grandpaws.
Big Cheese?
Arquette and Ivory Starlight will not be joining us today due to a family emergency. They are okay, just going through some stuff.
Yep. So we wish them the best. In the meantime, we are gathered here to mourn the loss of Big Cheese's favorite two colors.
Wow.
Find the lie.
Mourn.
Okay.
We're here to celebrate the life of.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
That's better.
So as the tagline for this said, blue, pink, and yellow are all up in this meta's grill. Literally everywhere. Multiple archetypes, multiple events. Just everywhere. And the certain persona non grata keeps showing up and messing up tournaments.
Even in Germany.
Angry. There's a little bit of orange. Mostly in control. But we're missing a couple things. Those couple things are Cheese's two favorite colors. Purple and white.
Well, at least in the traditional context of them. And that's kind of the question, right? It seems like those two colors, perhaps more so than any other, really had a fall from grace, not only when rotation happened for core, but as things kept being developed. And it occurs to me now that as the group responsible for designing new cards
and banning them,
and then banning them, we may have had something to do with this.
Now, see, we've shortened the cycle here. We come up with a good purple-white card and ban it before it ever sees the light of day.
That's fair. That does seem about right. And yet, we've been aware of this fact. I don't think anyone could go into the 2020 online con meta and look at what happened with Stunning Wonder Blue or Soleno Yellow or even Nurturing Nature and say, this is fine, we clearly don't need control. So we push control a little bit in New Dawn. And then, one particular troublemaker notwithstanding, sat there and still said, hey, it's still not quite there yet, and then tried to give it more tools in Fond Memories, and then they accidentally ended up in blue-pink somehow?
As you do.
Just suddenly, spontaneously shift two colors. It happens sometimes.
Stealing
it does
cards.
happen. Sometimes it's just like Gallus and Silverstream show up and just be like, nice card, I'll take it.
No, that's not for you. You have these aggro cards over here. Okay, so we can look at the meta, and we can clearly say purple is really not there for the most part, and white is occasionally popping up, but just really as a supporting color, and not even doing the type of support that it used to, at least not in the hard control style. So, where's the hard TM control? I'm gonna hide behind my wall and make everyone's time miserable.
Well,
where are those decks?
Well, does white show up really as a secondary color or more of a tertiary color?
No, it's showing up as secondary. You see it in Sea Pancake's recent farm list that they've been running that's using white as the secondary color instead of going into more traditional, blue-pink, because white has better disruption and point acceleration.
Oh, sure. And I suppose Instagram has a blue-white list that's very annoying to play against.
That's the greatest praise you can give a control deck.
This deck is annoying to...
Yeah. Yeah, that's about what it be. Sometimes it do.
So we know where we are now. How did we get here? You might be wondering, how did I get to this? How did I get in this situation? Freeze frame. Music stops.
You forgot the record scratch.
Sorry, yes, record scratch first.
We're in for a bit of a history lesson here.
Well, maybe. We're in for a bit of a in memoriam service here. Cheese, do you want to walk us through the greats that have come before the current sets?
Sure. Guess we can start by going back to 2014.
I think it's further than that. It's about right, yeah.
2014. Which how many years ago was that, by the way?
Infinite.
8 years ago. I've been playing this game for 8 years.
Let's see, the problem is if you subtract literally anything from 2022, you don't get a number, you just get screaming.
But yeah, this is Death in Texas from Premiere. And of course it's running Cloud Chaser. Why is it running Cloud Chaser? Because Cloud Chaser was the single best card back then. It went in literally every deck.
It did. It's true.
It makes your friends cheaper. Yeah.
Prismlight says, "Where's Virtuoso?" There were some versions that played without her.
She is very expensive.
This one is a little cheaper.
Cheaper both in the action token sense and the actual dollars sense, because this is in the era of you're going to be paying $60 for an ultra rare, and those come 2 or 3 to a box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the surprising thing that's missing here is F-Stop.
That's the really stunning one, and I don't think we've really come to appreciate just how much of a... I can't say all the words I want to say here on stream. F-Stop was.
The fact that F-Stop did not see more significant play in Premiere is honestly kind of shocking. But it took time for him to come into his own, and before we had gotten into the second block, he was certainly appearing.
In fairness, this only runs 3 events. Now, 2 of those are pretty obnoxious.
Would be super good to repeat. Wow, you have Ursa. Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, but standstills are way much more fun, where you're just like, nope.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's good. You're out of them, right? Nope.
Everfree 2014 finals were this deck and the yellow purple one.
Oh, Royal Guidance.
Royal Guidance. Purple was up there. And I think that was the last Premier tournament that happened, or the last major Premier tournament that happened that year.
It's also worth taking a look at not just what cards were here, but really what each color was doing, right?
Yeah.
Purple was moving opposing characters, and white was doing 2 things: making things expensive and serving as your win condition.
With RTO there. Look at that little smile on her face.
So even back in the before times, the long ago, you had purple doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and white, even as a primary color here because of the main, playing more supporting role. Count the number of white cards in this deck compared to the number of purple cards. And yeah, you can make the argument that that's because of entry, but you run Lady Justice even if you're not playing purple, if you're playing control.
Yeah. And this main choice is really just because of how there's the flip condition difference between Twilight and Rarity.
Yep. Truly Outrageous is kind of akin to Bunyip. Yeah, that's pretty similar in that they're both going to require an AT investment in order to use them turn after turn. RTO scores a lot more than Bunyip does, though.
Significantly more point efficient.
Yeah. Let's look at the bonuses on these problems.
Half your deck is 3 bonus?
Yeah.
And this is all, keep in mind, this is also back in the era where First Confront was a thing. So you'd roll up after a DFO or something and just be like, 7 points? Don't mind if I do.
It was a little dumb.
Okay, so early game purple-white control, yeah, it existed. But did it remain a thing, and would we recognize it?
Let's look at the next one.
Some stuff happened, including a bunch of aggro decks and some combo decks and so on and so forth. None of that matters, though.
Then we go, this is AD? Yeah.
It's difficult to talk about purple-white control in the AD meta, because it definitely wasn't really part of the meta itself.
No. The AD meta consisted of 2 decks.
Well,
One of
2
them
mains,
has-
but
It was basically 2 decks. Let's be fair. It was Mod with a bunch of troublemakers, and then DJ with some kind of combo win con.
Either pile of presents or just using Penny Lane and Dr. Hooves for AT efficiency and then winning with like Savoir Faire. Now, Calm Soul here in the chat has pointed out Cutie Pox plus F-Stop. Yes, by this point in time, events had gotten good enough that players were like, man, I really wish I could play these events.
Oh, what's this? I found an F-Stop. Your life's about to be bad.
Yep.
stack of suitcases.
It's not running gyro though.
This deck is so much more annoying. I think that's just like what happens is like the annoyingness will increase deck over deck.
Yeah, that seems very accurate. Oh, we got stack of suitcases. Oh, there's just so many things in here that give me PTSD.
Study session.
Nightmare Moon.
Oh, I mean, okay, so
Repeated Nightmare Moon.
Repeated Nightmare Moon.
Repeated photo op.
Yep.
Notably, this is not running Yellow Parasprite as well, just for that 1-2 dual whammy of making everything miserable.
It could be. It probably should be.
Death and Taxes did.
Yep. It is really about this point where players started realizing that, hey, if I can find a particular line of play that is really good for me or really bad for my opponent, instead of trying to find like 5 of those lines of play, I should just do the same line of play every turn.
Because I can F-stop.
Because I can F-stop, or because I can Penny Lane Dr. Hooves, or because I can just leave my main at a problem and play a troublemaker every turn, you know, whatever it happens to be. So you start seeing a bit more recursion, you start seeing a bit more redundancy, you start seeing a bit more of these kind of control engines that we're forming.
Yeah. The intervening, what was it, 2 years? It wasn't even a full 2 years. Between Death and Taxes and this deck led to a ton of development of understanding how you're supposed to play the game and how the game wants to be played.
It really was kind of astounding just how much got developed here. The problem deck has obviously changed a little bit here. Even early on, purple-white had some good synergies or good, you know, control effects on problems. Look at Fear itself sometime, and then just imagine what that would be like in a modern format. That card is really stupid.
You'll also note here that the understanding that the aggro decks got about how you should be confronting problems is applied to this too. So there are some things that you can't confront with just your main and one of the purple friends. I think Overgrown Everfree is it.
Yep, that is the only one. In fact, you'd need Lady Justice, or you'd need two purple friends to do it.
Yeah, but it took some lessons from the aggro decks in terms of direction of purpose, I guess. Maybe purpose of direction. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Roman points out that Fear itself kind of breaks with the epic mechanic. Yeah, it does. if you can have an epic troublemaker there face up and then just play another one face down, if your epic is defeated or otherwise removed, it's sad, but it doesn't matter. Your opponent still can't confront.
That's very funny.
It's probably why we don't see that many effects that care about troublemakers remaining face down instead of just trying to turn them face up again immediately, because there's really no way for opponents to interact with that. This is also around the time you started seeing some sideboard-ish choices, even though the sideboard rules weren't in place yet. Portal to Tartarus is likely here specifically to deal with DJ.
I mean, Destiny Drain.
Yeah, Destiny Drain as well.
Anti-combo tech, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
On to Marks and Time?
Yeah, here's one people may recognize the name of. What do we got?
Got Cruel Taskmistress.
Okay, ready? I want to count the banned cards in here.
I want to count the singletons.
That too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 singletons. Not counting problems.
Banned cards, we've got Paper Twi, F-Stop.
The main.
Is the main?
The
banned?
main. Yep, main's banned. IDP
Oh, yeah. IDP.
was banned temporarily.
Nightmare Moon and Mimics.
Yep.
This would have been the... It wasn't Core 2.0, it was Core 1.0. Right? No, it was something weird.
I mean, this is
No.
Premier.
This
This
is
is Harmony, sorry. But it has Premier cards.
That would
So.
have been, I think, Core 1.0. Pre-rotation.
Well, this is before Core was even defined as a format.
Yeah.
Ponyhead would call it Core 1.0. The ban list for that, by the way, is not updated.
So now we're getting into another thing that Purple Whites became known for doing, and that was kind of playing toolbox, running more diverse answers to a wider variety of situations, but fewer numbers of each individual copy.
With F-Stop, you only need one copy of most of this
Well,
stuff.
F-Stop and Gyro.
Yeah.
Just that combo. I have tools.
I can find tools. I can keep using those tools.
My favorite inclusion here is actually the Applejack. It's the only orange card in here. It's just that good that it's like one of the cards you want to play turn 1 or turn 2.
Yeah, because you're gonna open with it's Trading Traditions, because of course it does. You're gonna open with purple orange, slam a Factory Jack down, and then your opponent's just going to visibly melt.
It's the best play is turn 1 Factory Jack tap, turn 2 Factory Jack Paper Twi.
Opponent continues visibly melting.
You know what's actually kind of funny here? There are very few ways to reliably flip your main early in this list.
This is what do you put a card on top of your deck one?
Yeah, so you need to either get an Applejack, an Exposed, or a Kevin into play so that you can have enough purple to play Star Swirl Research, of which you have one copy, which you need to find with Gyro. So it's like 3 or 4 separate cards to be able to flip your main.
You can also use Paper Twi.
You can. You still need one of those first mentioned cards to get the purple wreck.
Yeah.
The big thing here, apart from the toolbox control, is looking at card synergies for like mass board wipes, and also kind of looking at the first repeated, hey, let me make use of these powerful enters play effects. Because you not only have Twilight and Rarity Exposed, who will continue to appear in every purple white X control deck that runs Troublemakers from, this point until the card is no longer legal. But you've got Spoiled Rich and the namesake here, Cruel Taskmistress, that just moves all your opponent's friends to a problem and then blows them up.
Yay.
And thanks to F-Stop, can do that whenever they kind of want. Alicorn Amulet as well to make your smooths epic, I'm assuming. That would make sense. And then Luna's Future putting power counters on it, and yeah, this is kind of wild.
Yeah, you can make the smooths really, really difficult to get rid of.
We're also starting to see something that more closely resembles a traditional purple-white control problem deck here in this case. High bonus, or I'm sorry, high opposing confront requirement problems. In some cases, even too steep for this deck to normally confront by itself, instead relying on cards like Photo Finish to just grind out the game slowly.
Yeah, confront your opponent's problem, Photo Finish.
Yeah, Roman's asking in chat, why all the one-ups? That's what we mean when we say toolbox control. If you have ways of finding these cards, which you do with Gyro, and if you have ways of getting them back, which you do with F-Stop, then you only need one copy.
Find the copy, play the copy, get the copy back. Play the one copy again. Repeat until opponent is crying.
Speaking of making opponents cry, do we want to push forward a couple of sets? This was with Defenders. Now we're going to Friends Forever.
Yeah. This is really what I would call peak purple white. Like we can count the banned cards here in a sec, but like.
So do we need to do the line? I think we need to do the line.
What's the line? This
is the ideal purple white deck. May not like it. This is what peak control looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, this deck I think banned is Paper Twi, Selena, Old Money. Oh, this is okay. I think the ban for what's it called? Barry's Punch and Orange Swirl had already taken effect at this point.
Oh, it would be running a copy.
Otherwise, it would have
Taco
that.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's why it has Taco Tuesdays. Yeah, IDP and Mimics. And at least some of those bans were actually because of this deck.
Or previous or later versions of it. Yeah. This is not the end of bans to hit this deck, by the way. There will be more.
This is the deck that just keeps on giving.
Me a headache.
Yeah, but the core of this deck was, hey, Portal is cool. Hey, cards are cool. And your friends aren't cool. Or troublemakers or resources.
Like, the literal only reason this is not running F-Stop is because this is...
Cool, it's core.
Or at least...
It's core.
Well, at least it was... Yeah, it was an old version of core.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, this would be running F-Stop. And if you thought it was bad without F-Stop...
It's even more fun with it.
But it's okay. This deck has Mistmane.
Yeah.
Who's totally fine.
And 2 AT generators.
Yeah, Godot's here in chat saying they used to like Portal before this was a thing. Yeah, I know that feel. Portaling Old Money while you have a bodyguard in play is one of the best feelings in this game.
Yeah.
It is so satisfying and so aggravating for your opponent. If an Old Money hits and your opponent lands a portal, you're kind of just done for. Even outside of ban cards, though, you had other things in here that it's probably for the best that are not still legal. You had the Taco Tuesdays, who used to be the Berry Punches. You had Photo Finish, who was another method of point acceleration that didn't require a constant AT investment. You had Magical Misfire, you had
Well,
Napcakes,
yeah, you've got Photo
Barrel,
Finish. Confronting's dangerous. Who does that? You.
and then you had the problem deck. This was closer to what the final control slash really control
Combo, yeah.
Well, combo would focus a little more on card draw, but yeah, this was definitely a traditional control problem deck.
Yep.
I hope you feel bad about this, Cheese.
I feel great.
I know you do.
6 problems with 10 rec.
Hope you brought.
Oh, sorry, no, 5.
Okay. So we've got the history out of the way. Purple-white control has existed in some shape or form basically since the beginning of the game. So why do we not really see it now? I think. Go ahead, Art.
Well, we've touched on this quite a bit here. Ranting and raving about, oh, look at all these cards we don't have anymore. Look at all these cards that are banned. These colors lost a lot of stuff, both from set rotation and to some degree from, not playing in Harmony, which kind of set rotation, but not really. So just look at all these fun toys here. You've got Napcakes, you've got Scope Things Out, you've got Magislate, you've got Misfire, you've got. You know what? Just go to Ponyhead and ask it about Eoblock's purple and white options, because, yeah. Just all that good stuff.
Like you mentioned, there were other things there in Premiere as well. Gyro, Urza Vanquisher, F-Stop. Which is definitely for the best that we do not still have these available.
Yeah. Then we've got the bans. So, Old Money. Portal. Portal, of course, being EO and the Defender's Block version of Core.
Right.
Paper Twy. Who, got the book thrown at her.
Very nice.
Let's see. Ambassador of Friendship. Who was possibly the one doing the throwing, but and Selena Blue and F-Stop, of course.
Yes, salty fish.
How salty is this fish?
Very.
But all of those cards have played key and pivotal roles in allowing purple-white to do the thing. And arguably, when you have all of these things together, they hit a fever pitch that just alone they don't really hit. Like, the combination of all of these things together, the synergies is what really drives this over the top. And having to break those synergies is what those bans are attempting to do, but the act of doing that sometimes reverts the deck to such a weak state that it just doesn't work anymore.
There's kind of a modern analogy to this, or analog to this, I should say, with Nurturing Nature, right? Nurturing Nature and Mono Yellow started getting some pretty decent cards and were probably playable in some form as early as DE when she came out, and you got stuff like Bunyip and Raptor Razor, and Friends Are Always There. Like, those cards were good. Then Sequestria came out, and you got Day Shift and Staff, Kind Pony. Then Friends Forever came out, and you got Unsatisfactory Work and Kool-Aid Yak, and probably more stuff that I'm forgetting.
Meadowbrook.
Oh, thank you, Meadowbrook. How could I have forgotten that one? And each time someone would come to an event choosing to play the mono yellow deck each year you'd see that deck getting just a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger, and eventually it just reached this level of, what do we even do about this? So purple, white were kind of similar. They had good tools. The tools individually, with a small number of notable exceptions, wouldn't carry a game by themselves. But when you put them all into a pile, every one of them worked together. So
Like
rotation.
you don't need to burn up all your like fancy resource removal on a per card basis when you can just sit there and be like, that's a nice pile of troublemakers and resources you got there.
And they're gone. Thanks for the unicorn tokens, bro.
Bruh.
So you had the core card base of purple white control getting gutted with rotation and bans, right? But there's more to it than that.
Well,
Because new cards get printed. It's not like rotation happens and then you'll never see new cards exist again.
right. I mean, we've got a couple of other things here. Like when those rotations happened, that doesn't just affect like draw deck choices, that also affects the mains. And the main supporting core is not real great. Like, sure, you've got New Dawn Queen, and you've got Spell for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, both of those are pretty good from a control standpoint. They provide value or at least disincentivize your opponent over the course of the game. Right? And that's good. Like, control sees this and says, ah, this makes my opponent's life difficult and or allows me to get more resources to make my opponent's life difficult. This is good.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, you've got Tempest there, but she's a bit of a one-trick pony.
Boo.
Boo.
Because she does her thing,
And then she's flipped.
just flipped in there and being an angry edge horse.
And then you go to play your Selena Blue, and then realize that you don't have trading traditions anymore. And you also don't have your Selena Blue anymore.
You're wondering why you have banned cards in your deck.
Yep.
Judge.
So yeah, that's a good point, right? The main support, there's not really a main in core right now that is going to provide long-term control value outside of the two that we mentioned here. And Spell for that definitely comes closest to resembling something like Ambassador of Friendship, but it still can't approach that at all in value.
No. The key with Ambassador, she just straight up said, here, have an action token. The spell for that is more limited in terms of you're going to, like, whatever you get, that's the only thing you get a discount on. And then you have to give up some hand knowledge for that. And really, like, if your deck gives you the right cards, I guess, sure, maybe, but your deck doesn't always give you the right cards.
Sure, your main's missing Meticulous, if nothing else. So are your action token generators.
Well, Bay Pertwee was kind of ridiculous.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, the draw deck suffered, and we don't need to talk about the problem deck. We know what happened with that. Those two colors.
The entire thing went bye-bye. Like, literally the entire thing.
They had to rebuild from scratch. That being said, the control problem deck for purple and white right now in core is not that bad. It took 3 sets, but between cards like Prospecting Interruption and Buzzer Keep Away, Easy as Cake, like there's actually some decent problems now.
Of course, you have to look at those in comparison to some of the other things that are available, like, say, Under the Weather, which is just a ridiculous problem.
Mm-hmm. Final question. Party science. Yeah, that's fair. It's not just a matter of what got taken away, though. Like we mentioned, if it was just a factor of, well, rotation happened, control's going to be weaker, which it always is, that's just kind of how it goes. We've seen 3 sets. We're back to a very similar number of cards to what happened pre-rotation. So, where's control?
Yeah, where'd it go? Where'd you put it?
Well, elsewhere. Because it turns out that when control had been the dominant archetype in high level competition for years and years and years,
You don't continue to feed the monster.
Yeah.
you do kind of take a step back and let the aggro players get some time in the limelight, or some farm players. But how do you do that?
Not
You
the
still
combo
ha-
players, though. No,
Not the
no
com-
life.
No.
That 1,000,000,000 years, touch it.
You do still have to print purple cards. You do still have to print white cards. But if the design philosophy around what those colors should do, what they should be allowed to do, and what they have to pay in order to do those things changes, then you can get into a situation like we're at right now, where, yeah, there are cards out there, but they are much more expensive than they were previously, either in terms of AT cost, or in terms of requirement, or in terms of timing phase, or in terms of, just a number of different factors. Compare Spider Surprise to Nat Cakes. And ask players who have run Spider Surprise in constructed decks in current core if they would be willing to trade the ability to hit friends of 3 or more power for the ability to play the card for 1 less AT and for 1 less play requirement. And I bet you every single person would say absolutely.
There's so much stuff at like 2 power or less that I really don't want on the field.
Yep.
Like, that'll wreck a confront just fine.
So we made purple and white's cards, for the most part, at least the ones that, do the traditional control stuff, more expensive. Too expensive, maybe. Some of this stuff is just not justifiable. I really, really like the effect of Hypnotized by Fear. You can temporarily gain control of your opponent's strongest friend, and then at the end of the turn, you put it on top of their deck and deny them a draw the next turn. Those effects are pretty good. But it's main phase timing, and it costs 3 action tokens.
That's too many action tokens. Dear Princess Celestia, please make this cheaper by 1.
If you gave me that same card for 2 action tokens, or you made that card immediate instead, yeah, I'd probably consider running it.
Oh, that'd be spicy with that immediate.
Okay, so what else? Cheese, what else has happened to get us to where we are now?
Let's see. So, other decks or other archetypes have really found better ways to get around control. There's just so many ways now to either just how the number of dilemmas we have, or the new ways we have to get around troublemakers. My least favorite of which being the new Spitfire card. What's her name?
Spitfire, not Wing Leader,
Response
but
team.
that's the one.
The interplay defeat it.
It's not as
Retire or something. I forgot these actual words, but it's a good card. But yeah, and losing some cards like Mimics and
Legion of Doom.
Legion
Old
of Doom.
Gogar.
Yeah,
And the other Legion while we're at it.
yeah, and now the Triad.
Yep, Godot pointing out here they got to defeat 2 whole legions with response team once. Feels good.
In a
Feels
single
good
game,
when your opponent plays your own point acceleration for you. Feels nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's real strong.
Well, I mean, you need some strong tools to punch through Control that strong.
Yeah.
And when Control loses the tools that it had, and the aggro decks are still sitting there with, well, somebody handed me a bazooka, and I've got flies to swat, but no fly swatter.
There's really one other small reason. And I guess it's not really that small why Control has fallen out of favor right now, and that is because of those exact words I just said. It fell out of favor. The people who historically played Control, especially when the community for this game was larger, when the tournament scene was more active in person, once again, in the before times, in the long, long ago, more people had an affinity for that style of play. As the community has gotten more tightly knit and the players have gotten more entrenched in their particular play styles, you're not going to see as many people branching out and trying new things because their local meta might be one of the only things they see outside of continentals or online events, and they're going to just try to refine something they already enjoy. And that is completely valid, but it does mean that if the majority of players who are still active and involved in this game prefer aggro, you're going to see 1 or 2 people who still want to try to understand all the cards, all the play styles, or maybe just like Control most, and those are going to be the people who play. You're
just necessarily going to see more innovation in aggro and farming spaces.
Sure.
And spoilers, we've seen some innovation in aggro and farming spaces.
You also see the same people who have a tendency to play Control be the ones who are often very competitive when it comes to picking their decks for tournaments, which means even if they like Control traditional, purple white style, if they don't think that's going to win, they might not play it.
Yeah, like playing a deck because you like it is fine, but there are subset of players where it's just like, no, it doesn't win, I'm not going to run it.
And there is overlap between those 2 groups for sure.
Yeah, because the Spike sits here and plays what wins.
But in the attempt to appeal to those players, those that still have their hearts black as coal, who want nothing more to do than to feed on the tears and suffering of their opponents by grinding out games that could go to the full 2 hours in top 8 or top 16.
Wasn't it 2.5 hours?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's 2 hours now, precisely because of that.
Right. We're gonna force it. Or, dang it, we're gonna try. We've got 2 full blocks worth of sets of cards that we can use. Some of those cards are purple and white. Who says that you can't build purple-white Control? Well, maybe me.
Possibly the meta, possibly you. I don't know. Let's find out.
Ara, you were talking a little bit about Spell for that and why you didn't feel like that was a great fit for Control earlier.
Right. So in Control, the card that you need to deal with a particular situation, odds are it's not the card that you just drew with Spell for that.
I mean, that is kind of true.
Now, the card that you did just draw might be good for something. In fact, I would hope it's good for something and would be
Otherwise, why is it in your deck?
relevant to the particular situation in front of you. And so you get I feel like there is a set of decks that are kind of, okay with just playing off the top of their deck, even for not playing Magic.
But that's usually not Control.
Usually not.
And it's certainly not Control if you don't have Selena Blue anymore.
Well, yeah, because at that point you get to sit there and be like, what do I want to draw this turn?
So if we're going to make this a true purple-white control deck, we're going to want to try to find a main that we think might provide more value for control. We talked about Spell for that, and don't think that that's necessarily the best way to go if you want to play the reactive style that purple-white normally has. We talked about Tempest, and Tempest is fine. In fact, Tempest is very good at traditional Troublemaker control because you get the Grogar synergy, and hand disruption's always nice. And if you're getting out those Troublemakers early, you get to play Troublemaker Toolbox, which is always fun. There's just so many choices. But again, not a lot of late game value.
Roman brings up Cozy Glow. So, Cozy Glow, in theory, is supposed to be an aggro main.
She cares about points.
She cares about points. She wants you to put up a Troublemaker wall and mess around behind them. Does this work?
Not that we've seen so far. Roman says, what do you mean just sit behind Triad the entire game? Well, turns out Triad's not legal anymore.
Yeah. It might be possible. I mean, that's kind of the design intent there, is that was printed in the same set as Triad.
Right. But there's another main that was printed in that same set that does provide more control value over the course of the game.
Fluttershy?
Fluttershy was not printed in New Dawn.
Oh.
No, it's our queen.
I mean, from a certain perspective, making your opponent's stuff all go home turn after turn is control, right?
But Fluttershy's main wasn't printed in New Dawn.
Okay, all right. So I think we're looking at our queen here.
There's the potential for this to be similar to what we saw with the very first deck we looked at, right? Where you played a white main with a lot of purple support and, some white support as well. But the main had this tax effect on it, and that was the real reason why you ran it. And that might be good enough, because when we think about the cards that are less overcosted in core right now in either of these two colors, at least in my mind, white seems like it's in a better spot.
Right. So I don't think we want to build a mono white deck here, because I think we've done that before, actually. And unfortunately, that deck is kind of obvious. It's just, look at all these tax effects. What if all of the tax effects?
If we're going to force the control thing, if we're going to force the Troublemaker deck, then let's just do it. Let's grab the cards that we know would best synergize And let's just start with those. So let's put Exposed in here. And let's put a couple copies of Capper Dapper Paws Hole Up. And a full rack of To the Moon.
We're gonna make sure that we got some purple going on here, so we need an entry suite. Let's see, purple. Well,
Roman says 3 Capper, no way. Well, if we need purple entry,
there's one card that I think we need to Windmill Slam,
which
and
one
that's
is that?
Luster Dawn.
Okay. Why do you think that we need to Windmill Slam Luster Dawn?
Well, for one thing, it's purple entry. We're
This
gonna
is
need
true.
some of that. And if you gotta pick purple entry, and you're not gonna use resources or events to do it, Luster's pretty far up there. Gonna be honest.
The fact that you can get value out of Luster both as an entry card and as a possible win condition is kind of nice.
Now the only Headmare is also seriously worth considering, but I believe this will depend on how much
What the events look
event
like. Yeah.
event support we have.
It'll depend on the event support. It'll depend on how much we care about flip average. We've also got other options if you really want to be spicy about entry. When was the last time you saw a deck that played, let me find it here, Scaleo?
I think we made a deck at one point, but I don't actually remember ever playing it.
Scaleo's an option. There's also Rex, who is just efficient body entry. And then, of course, you've got the motivational speeches and Fires of Friendship and Rushed Makeovers and all that stuff.
I'm kind of partial. Well, it really depends on what the rest of the deck looks like, but I'm kind of partial to Rushed.
Yeah, it is just generally pretty good. I don't really like Scaleo here. Like, yes, there's some other stuff that you get off of it, but you're never going to feel good having to pay 3.
I mean, if I don't have a Troublemaker in play, I might feel good having to pay 3.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's
it's worth
somewhat
considering.
situational.
What if we do have Troublemakers in play? What if we always have Troublemakers in play? Can we put 3 Sirens in here? Which then naturally means we'll need 3 Grogars.
Got a little bit of a Troublemaker suite going on here. Sure.
Well, the first 3 cards that we added all synergized very well with having Troublemakers.
I assume you mean Father of Monsters.
I do, in fact, mean Father of Monsters, yes.
But the other one's an action token generator. Speaking of action token generators, do we need a rack of Glim-Glam?
So, Glim-Glam is... Cheese, what's your thought on Glim-Glam? You've played her in decks with purple as the main color, and this is not one of those.
I mean, yeah, she's entry if you have purple main. I don't know, she feels very expensive, especially in the current meta. She's not gonna stick around long.
She will get frightened or dismissed pretty easily.
Yeah, and I don't know what other options we have for AT generation. Like, we're in white, we can run Saddle Row.
We can run Saddle Row, and if you really wanted, we could run Summoning Bell.
That's kind of spicy. You mean Grogar's Bell?
No, I mean Summoning Bell.
Summoning
To
Bell.
make prepared,
Oh,
prepared as
yeah,
a T
yeah.
generation, yeah.
I definitely know what these cards are. I have definitely, did all the flavoring and stuff on them and remember everything.
I know some of these cards.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Saddle Row Storefront is definitely the first place we want to start with this, right? Also, allow me
I
to
agree
present
there.
allow me to present an alternate theory of action token generation. The reason that action token generation is good is because it lets you have more resources and therefore do more than your opponent does, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So increasing one side's action token generation could be viewed as the inverse of or a mirror effect of decreasing the opponents.
In a sense.
Let's add some spoons and some winks.
When can I be expecting your paper for peer review?
You can come to my TED Talk. Okay, so now in terms of tax effects, just with what we have right now, we've got our main, we've got Plaid Stripes, we've got Capper, we've got Wink. It's not bad.
I wonder if so there was a statement about how Glimmer is kind of expensive for what she does. Spoons is, I feel, an equivalently big, if not bigger, target. Cost the same, even.
It does. Spoons does have a couple edges going for her in this list, in my opinion, but we can talk about those. The first being that she's in this actual primary color. The second being that there is no chance that Spoons ever hits the field without taxing your opponent's cheap cards at least once. If your opponent's method of removal is not Spitfire or something else that costs 3,
Yeah, something reasonably expensive, sure. So they have to at least match your investment then.
well, if not match, they'll need to, yes, they'll need to pay the tax once. The other thing that Spoons has that's nice is pushing us further in the pink, or I'm sorry, in the white Unity direction, so that cards like Wink can get even more expensive.
Sure. We should probably have a couple of smaller mono white friends. Because Chrissy, you do have the risk of her getting flipped over.
You do. It's very true.
And it would be best to have something approximating a backup plan if that occurs.
Okay. What would you recommend?
Well, let's see here. Oh, we've got Aoi Zodal. That's kind of fun. He gets expensive though. That's interesting.
He also has 3 rec and does nothing to play the control game. We've got options for cards like Sand Smirk.
Oh, do we want to run a Mistmane or 2?
Probably.
Did we just lose the deck list?
Yeah, froze. I had to restart it. I have it saved.
Okay.
A pair of Mistmanes is probably a good idea.
That's something. Because that's at least a way that we can maintain some quantity of white. Even if the main gets flipped.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's enough changeling support for Petiole and like big eccentric 2 fairings?
Hive Patrol.
I don't know though.
It's gain control. I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to pull out Zesty Gourmand,
Yeah,
although that is extraordinarily funny.
there is a lot of Frighten in this meta right now as well. That's a good point. But that is a possible direction.
So how about Captain Was? So you get the experience, so it can potentially get a little bit bigger if you start getting those in your discard pile. But you can also deliberately retire them to grab a Troublemaker out of your discard.
Not bad.
And that gets us a small handful of cards. It's entry too, even. So bonus.
In white, but yeah. There were some other. What was the other cards you wanted?
Luster, I think we had talked about adding as a method of entry.
So I think let's see, what do we want our entry package to look like here? We're probably going to want to go with the Rushed Makeover.
Yeah, I think Luster and Rushed are fine.
Let's see, that's what we got 6.
Yeah, that's 6. So we could go 2 speeches. But if our main is getting flipped back over, that might be kind of tricky.
I mean, right now, To the Moon is the only thing that's 3 rec.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems fair. If we can keep that from going... well, so the other piece of entry here is... what is his name? Rex.
Well, it's either Rex or Changeling Distraction.
This is a Troublemaker.
It's even
No,
cheaper.
That does kind of help us with our desire to keep a wall up. It's not a particularly big Troublemaker.
No, but it's 0 bonus. And we can turn it into AT. Maybe. What was that resource that gives you prepared tokens?
Summoning Bell. Summoning Bell is a tricky decision because it does go on a friend, and like any resource that goes on a friend, just makes that friend an even bigger target.
Yeah. I'm gonna add 2 of them for now.
Mm-hmm.
We need the actual control package.
Well, we've got the Winks, and we've got To the Moon as an option for resource, or as an option for friend removal. We've got Troublemakers in here, and I'm sure we'll add more. So we'll probably want to play some friend. It's gonna work. They can hit big friends, and they can bring back Troublemakers. Bringing back Sirens from the discard pile is so disheartening.
Yeah.
We currently have no resource removal.
That's a bad one. Let's see. How many resources do we have? We could do Fashion Overload.
We could do Fashion Overload. We could also do Mysterious Disappearance.
Yeah, Fashion Overload feels kind of bad. Mysterious is a 3 rec, isn't it?
Mysterious is a 3 rec, yes.
I think I'd be a lot more amicable to that if we had a good method of messing with the top of our deck. But alas, no Selena.
Yeah, and I'm checking to see if there's any additional purple stuff at 2 rec that would be especially good. Tempest Shadow Stormcaller is kind of interesting. And Zakora brewing a plan is honestly not bad. In fact, Zakora might just be a better AT generator than Starlight in this deck. She's got 2 racks, and she'll gain action tokens at the same frequency, but she also has Eccentric 3.
Can gain action tokens at the same frequency.
Yeah.
Yes, can.
But she's also a bigger target.
I don't know. I always feel that people attack Glimmers more than they attack Zakora. Unless Zakora is the thing preventing them from confronting.
There is kind of a psychological element there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Plus, people forget about Eccentric.
They do. It's funny. Except I know that card by sight because I love playing stupid games with her. Now, if you throw something down that doesn't get used and it says Eccentric, I'm going to completely ignore that. But Zakora, no.
I think Aura did mention 2 Mistmains would probably be a good idea.
Yeah. And let's see, there was something that we added that maybe we don't want as many Captain Wuzzes.
Well, what's our recursion like? We've got Mistmain, and we've got It's Gonna Work, and that's okay. If you're wanting entry early, allow me to present another option. I feel like probably our best starting problem is going to be Surprise Concert, as it can let us get a high requirement for white cards like Plaid Stripe, just by playing cheap Troublemakers. So if that's the case, and you're worried about us having entry if our main gets flipped back over, let's run Staff of Sakanis.
You can always hit things with it as a backup option.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're maybe going a bit wide here, though.
How so?
There's a lot of
different things going on.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, we could take a look at it. Alright, is there a way to get the URL from this?
Copy short URL.
That crashes the browser.
Does it? That's new.
That's what happened last time.
Because that was the only way I remember how to get that out of there. Let me poke at something.
You just copy it into a normal browser. Just rebuild it.
We still need to find a method of resource removal, because we don't have that in here right now. I think the Summoning Bell is just going to end up being a liability.
Yeah.
I think we probably need to drop those. Calmsoul says, is this deck even control? Point to a card in this deck that is not control. Luster doesn't count. We can probably drop Saddle Row Storefront down to 2. Maybe. Roman did say relying on Staff is risky, but Staff also gives us another enabler for To the Moon. And I think that's really valuable. If we are also going this hard on the tax game plan, maybe we should ask the question of, is this the right deck to try and run High Alert?
Yeah.
That's very niche.
I mean, it works against decks that play cards.
most X play cards.
Again, what's the worst case scenario, right? You spend 1 action token at the first window of your opponent's turn, and you play High Alert. And they either play into it and allow you to get back cards like Wink or Troublemakers or To the Moon or what have you. Or they play around it by not playing anything, at which point, as we talked about previously, you've just time walked them.
So here's what we currently have.
Interesting. Okay, it doesn't crash for me when I push that button. Let me copy the deck out then.
Yeah, if you can just maintain it in the browser. Just copy what we're doing.
It's probably worth thinking about what the meta is like right now.
What are you gonna do against Troublemakers?
Well, that's the question, right? Is how much Troublemaker or how many Troublemaker opponents are we actually expecting to run against, seeing what has happened recently?
I still think we'll see it.
I think that depends heavily.
Well, if that's the case, then it may not be a bad idea to run at least a copy of the Squizzard that we could find.
Oh, just to shut the trader down?
Well, to shut opposing farm players down. AJ won't be able to do anything about it. Selena will be able to, but
Just one
if
copy?
well, we can find it with Grogar.
That's true.
And we can get it back through a number of different ways.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what this deck probably wants? It probably wants some copies of Night Vision. Because if our opponent has to play 3 cards to flip our main, reducing the number of cards they can actually keep each turn is probably a good way of making that more difficult.
Couple of those.
Maybe just 2. And we still need resource removal. So we could run Luna's Future, though we don't have... Well, Luna's Future does synergize with Exposed, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it does. Although... Exposed is discard pile into play?
Exposed is discard pile into play, yes.
Yeah. Not immediate, but it's still useful.
If we want immediate, and we don't want to give up one of our own resources, then basically the only thing that's there is Mysterious.
Yeah, which is the same AT cost.
No, Mysterious is free.
Sorry, not AT cost, same rec.
Correct.
And the same, or sorry, not same. It also has the benefit of if you randomly flip it, it can do cool things. Although, can it hit your own stuff?
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
We have 2 Saddle Rows and 3 Stabs as our only resources right now, though.
Yeah. Wow, but getting rid of them seems bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of like Luna's Future.
Okay.
Can we... We should probably put a rack of those in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gets us 50 cards?
That's 50.
It does. I don't know if it's the right 50.
Prism Light suggests Flurry. You don't want to bounce her. We might be able to get away with only 2 copies of Sirens, but it's a really good card, but it's also not epic.
Yeah.
Well, we did just add Nightmare and Squizzard. Those weren't there when we added the Sirens.
Yeah, Nightmare is epic.
Roman says they're still shocked we don't have Pony of Shadows. There's a lot of friends that we don't really care if they enter play, Roman. We don't want to get another Plaid Stripes because they're unique. We don't want to get another Capper because they're unique. Try and Rarity Exposed is probably the best hit that we have. Mistmane is terrible.
Yeah, we
if
don't
get
want
it that way.
Mistmane.
Luster is kind of redundant. Our hits on Pony of Shadows are honestly awful.
Yeah. I think it's fine to drop a Siren. I don't know if we want 3 Cappers.
You think maybe just 2 because they're unique?
Because they're unique, yeah.
Yep, that seems fair.
The same thing with... I'll leave the spoons there. I was thinking about that, the spoons.
At least she's monocolor.
Yeah.
Yeah, also she's just good. Capper's a bit more restricted.
How do we feel about the well, let me ask this, right? Captain was there as a method of being able to get back troublemakers sometimes,
And it's backup entry, yeah.
and it is backup entry. We now have the full set of stick, which is technically 1 AT cheaper than just flipping our main. That is something that's probably worth noting is we'll never be in a position where we can't flip our main just by sating action tokens.
Yeah.
It's not like a confront to flip condition or something like that. So if we're looking for recursion, I had previously suggested the High Alert. I feel like Discord and High Alert would kind of occupy the same slot.
Which Discord?
Captain was.
Yeah. If you want to swap Captain Was for High Alert,
It's a consideration.
we do 1 of each.
Captain Was does give you more of a body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to play High Alert proactively. Like, you need to know that your opponent's about to do something because it doesn't work so well. If they play something and then you're like, oh, I wanted to High Alert. Nope, too bad. Too late.
Do we have 2 cards left here right now?
Yeah.
48 slots.
Oh.
That's it. This, but with -1 Siren and -1 Hole Up.
Well, if we really want to double up on taxing the opponent, and also give us more of a win condition, you run a couple copies of Throne.
Sure.
That does... no, that's fine, because we're not using... what's it? And Queen does need her throne.
Plus, Throne is probably one of the best tax effects against the current farm decks, since so many of them are playing cards inside of face-offs versus having built up a big board ahead of time. And the expensive part of Throne can actually be offset by Salabro Storefront. If Bugle was here right now, he'd probably be yelling at us for having not put these 2 in side by side.
Do we want to
Let's put a pair of those in.
put some problems in?
Nah.
Okay, no problems. We're done.
Well, it's probably a good idea to start with Surprise Concert first.
Okay, so 1 of those.
Prospecting Disruption seems pretty easy. We've got enough resources that grand opening is not bad, but maybe something we should consider is what resource removal looks like in the meta right now. Yellow has a good amount. And given that yellow is still pretty popular, we can count on dismissal being a thing. If yellow was less popular and purple saw more play, or it was just the blue property damage, then it might not be as relevant.
Yeah.
But
But
go a couple of grand openings. The stats on it aren't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Two of those, sure.
how do you feel about Buzzer Keep Away?
You don't want me to scream bananas. We are running mist mains, so it doesn't feel as valuable.
It would be more for the stats than anything else.
Yeah, I mean the stats are good. It's a 9. And it's
But we do-
9-1. Like,
But we are also running Luster, so that's probably worth considering. Is we may want to look at problems that we can actually get some value out of with Luster,
A little bit easier to confront, yeah.
which means maybe Alternative Solution is a good one to look at.
oh yeah.
All right, that's kind of spicy.
Get 3 confronts at that problem every turn.
That's
Yeah, zero bonus, so you don't lose a bunch. Okay, 2 of those seems good. We do need to go look at all the not color plus wilds too.
That's true. We don't
Well-
have a lot of immediates to play inside of a face-off right now. If we were doing the high alert thing, that might be a little bit of a better option for running the blue problem, Rookie Mistake. Orange, no, we're not going to be forcing discard. Pink, we don't have a bunch of
have a-
chaos.
Yeah, we don't have a ton there. That wouldn't be bad otherwise. Like, it's not a bad problem just to sit there and be like, well, we needed something to fit. It's got a 2 bonus and 6. No, I don't like that. Ew. Bad stats. Ew.
Yellow's problem is great, but it's probably a little low in terms of rec.
yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Wouldn't mind the
easy,
ability-
Easy as cake isn't bad.
Easy as cake is not bad. We also have the ability to put 2 Mystery at Hope Hollows in here because, troublemakers don't have requirement, and neither does Luster.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Couple of mysteries. Easy as cake. I have to find easy as cake. There it is.
That still leaves a decent number of confrontable problems. In fact, Mystery, Surprise, and Alternative Solution can all be confronted with just your boosted main plus a Luster.
That's missing a main, by the way, Ara.
As if it needs one. It's obvious.
You can pretend that Chrissy is there.
Chrissy's on every single card, laughing at you. Changeling.
The other thing that having Zecora kind of helps with is that we're not subject to Applejack just absolutely hosing us on our
Yeah.
AT generation. However, we are subject to Applejack. Oh no, we're not. Luster doesn't exhaust. It's the main that exhausts.
Yeah.
Aha.
Ah, spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? This seems
Annoying.
it seems decently annoying. I still think the was is kind of a flex slot, but there's other things that you can run in there. But
yeah,
it's
definitely.
it's fine.
Yeah, there's all kinds of, like, you can tweak everything that we post, of course. You can take and tweak to your own playstyle or to address your meta or, whatever you want. We don't care to state, well, okay, contrary to the now, because this is not the deck we showed earlier. That is the peak of control. This is just good.
Yeah, even the Mistbanes might not be required here with how many other sources of point gain we have. We can beat up our own Troublemakers if we have to. We can run Luster Dawn, which we have. We have Changeling Throne.
I just like Mistbane.
You could get really spicy with your sideboard here and try and read the meta. You think farm's going to be a big thing? You think they're going to be running lots of copies of, like, Flash Magnus' Shield? Well, run Stygian and make your own.
Yeah.
Who also synergizes with Luna's Future.
Spicy.
Or you're worried about decks that are going wide too much, and you think there's going to be a lot of token synergies going on, well, that's fine. You could end up running either Cornered or School Shutdown if you absolutely had to.
Yeah, if the aggro decks are liking board wipes to the point that they're running it, I might want to think about that one.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so there's a list. Maybe not the only list. I don't know. It might be really funny to try to take Cozy and run her in concert with Saddle Row Review. If you got that working, that seems like that'd be kind of fun for an aggro deck. Just another 3 action tokens a turn, maybe.
Could be funny. Need to get Day Shift unbanned again so she can just stick at problems.
Yeah. Wait, no.
Scary.
No, let's not do this.
Yeah, definitely do the thing.
Well, we did it. We built a control list.
We did it, Reddit.
We did it, Twitch.
Someone go play it.
I'd try it.
Yeah. Seems fine.
Seems okay. Oh, we do have one more thing to talk about here, though.
This tournament where people could run this theoretical control deck?
This convention where there were multiple tournaments, during one of which you could run this theoretical control deck, and one of which you could run an even more obnoxious version of this theoretical control deck because you've got adventure. But that's not important.
And this convention would be ever free?
This convention would be ever free. What's important is that there's a bunch of cardboard upstairs, and it doesn't have my name on it.
Should we maybe preview what this cardboard looks like?
Yes.
For the first time so people can see?
Get the shinies. Want to see the shinies?
Shinny.
I see 2 cards that don't have black borders there.
That's 2 royal rares?
It looks like 2 royal rares. And also the missing promo from Leaders and Legends. Look at the little bugs on Fluttershy.
Do you want to know what happened to the promo?
They ran away.
Yep. Also, that Tempest has opened up her eye. It's like she's staring into my soul and judging me for not playing orange.
Yep, that's what's going on there. As with before, those will have the holo treatment, so come to Everfree. Get cardboard.
That will wrap up our discussion for today. And since people have to take off here quickly, we'll skip the usual outro. Hope to see you all at Everfree. We'll have another stream where we're highlighting what we're thinking of playing in a couple weeks.
Thanks to our patrons. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.